despite the fact that the conversations I have with people, the stuff that I read, hear and see is scripted and prepped and fed to people by other people. A lot of the time, the stuff I come out with is spontaneous. It just comes from the top. It comes out from the top of my head. While I'm oftentimes while I'm just talking in here in this room. And one of the things that came to me yesterday was that 24 years has gone in a puff of smoke, was my phrase. It's like, despite the fact that people run around me writing stories left, right and centre, no one's actually once mentioned, right, this guy's actually lost 24 years. But anyway, I suppose the thing to do with that is to come to terms with it, get over it and get on with it. But yeah, but anyway, what will continue is that people will continue to write stories around me left, right and centre. One of those things is this idea of a mirror, that people somehow mirror who I am. Well, that falls flat. There's not been one one example of that I could say, well, yeah, that fits. Because it's don't. Even though I suppose if you're of that mind to see things in ways like that, you are going to see things in ways like that. For me, it falls flat every time. As do pretty much every argument, if not every argument I see put to me. For example, I watch these videos. If you've been watching these, I find them useful. Well, yesterday, I think more so than any other time recently, psychiatrists tried to, like they do with their conversations, impose conversations on you. Now, my usual approach is when people are off their heads, I just distance myself from them. They go their way, I go my way, that sort of thing. You try to do that with psychiatrists. But anyway, so these examples from the media were sort of imposed. It's been the case for quite some time, despite the fact that when I go back to the TV, when I go back to the flat, I'll still do what I did the last time, but it has been the case for quite some time that I've sort of been, in terms of the amalgam and the architects, back to the state I was before events leading up to my direct involvement with psychiatric services took place. I am on the outside looking in. I'd argue that pretty much everyone out there is on the inside looking out, as far as I can tell, in many ways, if not always. Because the arguments fall flat, despite all manner of suggestions being made, it doesn't take me long to get back on solid ground and deal with that sort of stuff. It happens pretty quick. But it sort of points to a classic brainwashing technique that was so effective during those the amalgam adventure during those 24 years, and that is the brainwashing technique of auto-suggestion. And that is where you repeat a certain suggestions to someone to the point where they turn those suggestions in on themselves. Those suggestions become their internal mental process. And that is called autosuggestion, where they're suggesting to themselves stuff. Now again, it falls flat. Not only the attempt at suggestions, but the arguments in those suggestions. What I saw, owed a lot to the amalgam, to the architects, the amalgam, and offshoots of those things. And the arguments just fall flat. For example, I keep mentioning helicopters and Muslims, despite the fact that one of their troop, one of their group characters here, or whatever, may well be a Muslim, I don't know. I suppose if you've gone with a argument that falls flat for so long, I suppose you've got to keep, flogging a dead horse or something. I don't bloody know. But anyway, such is the nature of psychiatry, maybe. But anyway, druggings yesterday, again, the ones to height, trying different ones. I can't remember the one in the morning now. But the evening one, the afternoon and evening one, was the one to try and hype me up. I'm getting a bit of that now. I'll be getting a bit of that now. But yeah, it's like, if I've learned anything, if I learned anything from the Amalgam Adventure, it's that you can sort of engineer anything you want with druggings and other stuff off that. I don't think that can happen now though. Even if the drugging's really intense, I don't think I would go back into being on the inside of the Amalgam Adventure. Maybe it's a case that once you're on the outside looking in, you ain't going to go back to that. And like I say, that's been the case for quite some time now. But yeah, I mean, someone once said, one of their mates once said it was that I was a ticking time bomb. Well, how many attempts have there been to bring that about and then call me that sort of thing off the back of it, and so on. But anyway, all those techniques, very much the techniques of for example, autosuggestion, druggings, medical potions, you want to call them that, and so on. May have been of interest to during the Amalgam Adventure, and may still be of interest to the psychiatrist now. But my job is sort of to somehow get out of this place, despite the fact that I've got absolutely no intention of interacting with the psychiatrists. So yeah, as we know, they can impose themselves on people. They're like the most unwanted guests you could ever imagine. When I say during those 4 years, I can think of quite a few who it's just more of the same, isn't it, really? But anyway, so 24 years, got in a puff of smoke. What would I have done during those years? I'll never know. Could have stayed in bed, but the likelihood was I probably would have done. That's not the case. That's not actually strictly the case because of the architects and their mates. Had the architects and their mates happened, chances are I would have stayed in bed. And maybe that's the best policy, because the best thing about yesterday was I was just dozing in bed. It's brilliant. I'm going to try and do that more. But anyway, so here I am after 24 years on the outside looking in, with people running around with notions such as mirrors and trying all manner of brainwashing techniques. And the phrase I keep using is Leslie J's down the Nut House, the only one who isn't off his hand. And let's see, will the psychiatrist one day come to terms with that and let Leslie J's out of the Nut House.